Today we wanted to chat with you about our finances. I think this is one of the questions we get the most often when we're out, we meet other campers or boondockers or whatever. I would say we were just chatting with someone about this yesterday, I think. Usually the question comes to us in many different ways.
Yeah, it's the same question, just in different forms.
What did you do for a living before you came out here?
Yeah.
What do you do for a living now? Where does your money come from? And ultimately, to me, most of those questions are really, people don't know how to ask, how much money do you have?
Yeah.
Because it's a rude question. And
yeah.
Shocker, it is a rude question. That's why we're not going to answer it for you today. But what we are going to talk with you about is how our finances have changed in the past 2 years of owning a truck camper and driving it all over the country. So let's look at 2020, 2021. What was the difference? When we look at our finances from 2020 to 2021, we do see some big differences. And we'll put up a spreadsheet so you can actually take a look at it with us now. So in 2020, one of our biggest categories, coming in at like 17%, was our health insurance. So we were paying for Cobra. Cobra was an extension of our health insurance that we had gotten through my employer. That was crazy expensive. That was like $1,500, $1,600 a month. So between 2020 and 2021, that ran out. So it's a good and a bad thing. From a budget standpoint, it's a great thing. We don't have that $1,500 bill every month. That's the good news. The bad news is we now have cataclysmic health insurance through the state of Oregon. It doesn't cost us anything as far as a month-to-month insurance payment, but it's cataclysmic coverage. So we're paying other things like out of pocket. Other big change from 2020 to 2021 would be the truck itself. When we purchased the truck in 2020, we had just a whole raft of expenses associated with getting the truck up and functioning the way we needed it to, like transmission, brakes, tires, those kinds of things. 2021, those were all pretty much taken care of, so we didn't see those expenses rolling out onto like the annual expenses either. If I take a look at our expenses again for truck maintenance in 2020, we came in at a whopping, 39% of our annual expenses had to do with the truck maintenance. When I jump into 2021, our truck maintenance dropped down to 6.4%. So huge difference, year to year. Some of that was it's just you have to maintain the truck. In this case, we had to get the truck to performing at a point where we could actually maintain it from year to year.
So in 2021, our biggest expense falls under the category of groceries and merchandise. So that comes in at about 21.9, so 22% of our annual budget was feeding our faces and buying cool stuff in the different places we go to.
Do liquor stores get wrapped into groceries?
Liquor stores do get wrapped into groceries. So that's where, that's a large percentage of our spending, which is kind of nice. Like, we went from truck expenses to just regular normal stuff that you would have to buy whether you were at home or whether you're traveling the U.S. So I think that's maybe not a whole lot different than maybe your own budget at home would be. That maybe one of your larger expenses might be, I guess clothing falls under that. So trips to Costco, where I get most of my clothes, and so do you. Mm-hmm. Or trips to our storage really is where we get most of our clothes. But so all of that kind of wraps into it. So 22% of our budget went to us instead of to our truck specifically. So in 2022 or 21, our next largest expense was then diesel. And that came in at 18.3% of our entire budget. So driving around the country is kind of expensive.
How did that compare to the year before?
2020, when diesel was 8.5% of our budget. And that equaled to about $2,900 $1,272, so almost $3,000 for diesel in 2020. But it's important to note that in 2020, we actually only had the truck camper for 6 months. So that cost is from July to December.
Yeah. 2021, we drove all over the place. So we almost touched the ocean on both sides of the country. I guess we almost hit 3 points. We hit Washington, we hit Florida, we got into New York, but we didn't make it out to the Atlantic.
Right.
So a lot of driving for us in 2021. I think we've got a cute little app that we use for tracking our fuel called Fuely. And I thought it was like the bee's knees until we actually, for this episode this week, we started trying to like analyze the data. It's good at giving you like a 30,000 foot view. Like we open it, it'll tell me, oh, your average gas mileage for 40,000 miles is 10.2. Yeah, okay. That's nice, but really trying to like drill down, like what was our average gas mileage in 2021? What was your average gas mileage 2022?
It didn't break it down.
It doesn't
like
break
that.
it down. And for me,
it didn't break down the cost per year very easily either.
I think as we're dealing with these hyperinflated fuel costs, the actual cost
2022.
Yeah, the actual cost of fuel and how much we use isn't necessarily the answer that we're looking for. I think we're more interested, of course this is about money, we're interested in that, but I think a key thing is how many gallons of diesel did we use.
How efficient are we being?
Yeah, so we can average out the cost per diesel by month or whatever, but really it's, to me, this is much more about year to year, month to month, what is our diesel consumption? And I don't have an answer to that right now.
We also wanted to say hey to Douglas Waugh and welcome him to the Cupcake Club. He's our newest patron. If you want to be like Douglas and
be like Douglas
and throw a little support our way, feel free to hop on over to our Patreon page. We'll put a link below. Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you.
In 2021, our third largest expense was our storage unit fee. We currently have actually 2 storage units in Portland, and that was about 15.4% of our entire budget. That storage unit fee, that was about $7,853. So we've talked about different ways to maybe get around that. Like we've talked about possibly we could buy a piece of property and then get one of those, was it a rail car or a truck car? A rail car?
Yeah, rail car.
So that people use for storage on it. Now the downside of that is that it would not be climate controlled, which our storage is now. It's interesting. We don't necessarily need all that stuff, but I also am not ready to part with it, because if we do go back to a sticks and bricks home, we need to at some point. At some point we're going to be health or age or something, not going to be full-time RVers. I don't see that anytime soon, but at some point we're going to have sticks and bricks again. We've talked about a barn dominium. We've talked about all kinds of different things. I did some math recently, and if we had a piece of property where we could store it, we could purchase one of those storage units and have it delivered and pay for a gravel base, and we would recoup our costs for it in about 8.5 to 9 months. So since I don't really see us not traveling over, I think we're going to continue this lifestyle. It makes sense to figure out something different, to not be paying out of pocket for our storage. So if you are in Oregon or Washington and have a piece of property,
we want to talk to you.
Maybe we could rent a little area for $25 a month.
I think like when we've talked to other people that are doing this, it seems that people kind of fall into 2 categories. Category 1 is they still own a primary residence, so they've not downsized at all. Even
though they're full-time currently on the road, so they still have a home.
So they have somewhere to put all of their stuff. The other category of people seems to be those that have really gone like slash and burn, and they've downsized and gotten rid of everything that they're not carrying with them. So we're kind of in this middle bucket where we have our possessions, and our possessions do have both a monetary value and a emotional value.
Sure.
So we're not quite ready to like flush everything down the toilet and go commando.
Our children cannot start fighting over our couch quite yet.
Not yet. It's a nice couch. But also as well, you know, we have tools that actually have...
Steve has all his woodworking tools.
We have significant value sitting in...
Also my Vespa.
Yeah, in the storage shed.
Most importantly.
But at some point you say, you know, how much is it costing us per year? Is it $7,000?
$7,853.
So let's call it $8,000 a year.
Because they keep raising the price.
Yeah, $8,000 a year.
It didn't cost that.
To have stuff in storage. This is essentially our third year of having things in storage. We're at $24,000 we've spent in storage. I think if we were to do this for another 3 years, the cost that we would have paid to have everything in storage will have exceeded the value of everything that's in storage. So just from a money standpoint,
we need to do something different.
We need to try to switch this up. One of our plans while we're home this summer is to try to compress our 2 storage units down into 1. Some of that may involve smuggling things into our children's homes that they don't realize. They don't watch our videos, so they won't know. So don't tell them.
Don't tell them, Matthew or Hunter or Carter.
Yeah. So we're just going to like start positioning boxes in closets. And
we already have. There's already boxes in Danielle's and in Trisha's house.
So our goal really, though, is to try to get down to one unit this summer.
That's an ambitious goal. My goal is just to buy some property and put a storage unit on it. A storage box, whatever you call those.
So this is an area of improvement for us that we recognize in our finances. This is something that we can control. So
storage is an issue. Communication regarding storage is an issue.
Yeah. As part of our commitment to transparency and honesty with you, we will share our restaurant budget.
You don't get these chins.
Yeah.
You know, you come by these honestly. Let me just say that.
Yeah. So budget for restaurants.
Well,
Let's not even say budget. Budget's a wrong term.
We did not budget it. It's how much we spent.
It's just expenses. So what was our magic percentage?
It was 13.5% of our entire expenses for 2021 went to restaurants. But that doesn't mean it's only you and I, because like when we go home, we try to take my sister and her husband out to dinner to thank them for letting us stay there. Yeah. The same, we try to take any of our kids out for dinner as a thank you for letting us stay with them. Or
and when we visit with friends, as we're traveling through the country, we, I think, make it a point, like, take them out to dinner and we pay. It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Sometimes people insist on paying, and that's
and
fine.
We're grateful for
we're
that.
Appreciative.
And it's nice.
But we're also like appreciative when someone lets us park in their driveway or whatever, and like we want to share back with them.
Yeah.
So that does get rolled into our restaurant costs.
Yeah. So
maybe that's like 1 or 2%.
I know.
But
I know.
We're going to talk it up.
We're making excuses. Yeah. It's maybe like, I don't know. Most of the time we're alone, so most of the time it's just us feeding
It's the
our faces.
Southwest tour.
Oh
Holy
my gosh.
crap.
We love the burritos and the chili rellenos. Oh, we love it. We gotta stop.
Yeah.
Anyway, so restaurant cost came up to...
It's kind of, I was going to say, it's like the seat cushions. We could lose weight and our seat cushions would work better. But we're not losing weight, so we get better seat cushions.
Yeah.
We could cut our overall budget by eating out less, but we're not going to.
We don't need to be barbaric.
We need to be civilized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're also supporting local communities.
Yes.
We're not just getting fat for our own benefit.
And we help the kittens, too.
Whatever. $6,864 is our restaurant expense for the year of 2021. We could say that we might try to snip that down a bit, but again,
why lie?
And why be barbaric? Like we don't go to a ton of we don't go to amusement parks, or we don't pay for a lot of entry fees to places. Certainly if there's something we want to go to, we pay for it. But we probably choose more of our entertainment budget in restaurants than we do in entrance fees too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I actually think that entrance fees probably would have fit into that generic merchandise category. Now that I think about it, we were trying to figure out. We pretty much got this whole expense sheet from our American Express printout. So, not tooting American Express by any means, but for us, it works great. It gives us Delta miles. Some years ago, our banker told us, quit using your debit card. It doesn't gain you anything. So we chose a Delta American Express card, and we pay it off every single month. We don't carry a balance, and it helps us to see how much we were spending each month. We kind of know, like, each week how much our total should be. So it helps us to keep our budget in mind. And then, like I said, we pay it off by the month. So I've pulled most of this data from that expense. Yeah.
Specifically related to the camper itself from 2021, we have propane coming in at 0.9%. Truck maintenance, we already talked about. Camper maintenance, 1.2%. The camper maintenance is new this year. In 2020, we had a warranty for 2020 into part of 2021. So once the warranty was over, when things went bad, then we had to pay for them ourselves. In this case, that was 2 lead acid batteries that went belly up. So we ended up buying 2 new batteries for about $630. Another category that we have would be campground fees. So 2020 into 2021, we were using Good Sam. 2021, now moving into 2022, we're using KOA. We see a difference in what we paid out. So 2021, we're about 6.3% of our annual expenses went towards camping, campground fees, whatever, versus 2020, we're like 1.8%. 2020, though, was only half a year, so let's double it. About 3.8% of our 2020 expenses were actually tied towards a campground. We use campgrounds sparingly. For us, campgrounds come in about once every 2 weeks. We come floating into town, we stink, our clothes are dirty, our tanks are full, or our tanks are empty, and all of our electronics need to be charged. So we hit a campground, and I wish I could say campgrounds are like a day off, but usually they're not.
No.
We're doing laundry, we're doing all the things we need to do to turn around and get out the door the next day.
Yeah, sometimes we should just stay in a campground just because we want to swim in their pool or relax.
I can think of once when we've actually gone for a swim in one of the campgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for us, we can say something like, I'm going to try to spend less in a campground. I don't know that we're going to, because we don't spend that many nights there to begin with. Yeah.
I should figure out how many nights. That'd be good to know.
Yeah. Texas, we loved you. We actually found campgrounds that had like free power and water.
Yeah, lots of Missouri too.
Boy, yeah. We love those places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put up a picture of a place in Missouri. It was so beautiful. Remember right on that lake?
Yeah, that was nice.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
And free.
Free's a good cost.
Yeah.
Some of our smaller expenses, but are still vital expenses to us. So we have a Garmin InReach. Primarily, we've used the Garmin InReach when we've been backpacking and there's not going to be any cell phone connection. But we also use the Garmin InReach out here when we're boondocking. We just used it actually yesterday for the first time in a couple months. Wherever we were at, we had no cell phone coverage. So we wanted to let all the kids know, like, here's where we are. No, I didn't even tell them, here's where we are. We just said, we don't have cell phone coverage.
But we're floating around in a hot springs pool.
Yeah.
Because we were. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, so we do use the Garmin occasionally, just when there's no signal, to let our kids know that we're not dead. It's not a huge expense, but it's an important expense.
One of our children has been known to text my sister if I don't answer in an appropriate amount of time.
On your cell phone? Yeah.
So we do try to let the kids know when we're going to be out of cell phone reach.
Yeah, it's one of those expenses that we consider it to be a value add.
Oh, absolutely.
We meet other people out here that don't consider that to be a value add, and when they have no cell phone, they're like, oh, hey, we've got no cell phone.
Yeah.
For me, paying the monthly bill, even if we don't use it,
It's okay.
if we break down on the side of the road somewhere where we have no coverage, we can use our Garmin and we can get someone to come out and help us.
Or if we're asleep at night and someone breaks into our truck and starts to drive away with us, we can just turn on our Garmin and the police can find us. Even if we're getting driven down the road.
There are many uses for a Garmin.
That's actually what I thought about last summer when I was by myself so much.
Yeah?
Yeah, when you were hiking. Like, it sounds silly. It does, I know. But it was a little comfort knowing that if the worst came, I just pressed a Garmin emergency.
This is true. Another small category for us, cell phones. Got to have them. Financial advisor. She keeps us on the straight and narrow. And then our website that we keep, our Dropbox that we keep all of our videos and stuff in, and YouTube. So believe it or not, YouTube isn't actually free.
For us.
For us, frankly.
Yeah. Or you, the viewer, you're paying through watching videos.
You got to watch commercials.
Advertisements.
Yeah. So for us, this is an expensive hobby of
YouTube
doing videos.
Itself is free. Like, we could post videos for free, right?
Yeah.
Without charge.
Correct.
But we're trying to learn how to post better videos, so we've been taking a class.
Can you tell the difference?
Not yet. We haven't actually put much of it.
I was asking them, not you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can you tell the difference?
Wow. So, yeah. So we have our expenses for the YouTube videos. We have a website that we maintain, stephenwell.com, and that has expenses with it.
Yeah, you got to pay for server space.
Yeah. So just staying connected
in our hobbies.
In our hobby of sharing our lives with you does come at an annual cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you want to join the Cupcake Club, we'll put our Patreon link down below.
So let's wrap up our finances here.
We spent more money than we maybe...
How about from 2020 to 2021? Did we spend more? Did we spend less?
Well, I guess we spent way less, right? Because in 2020 we bought a truck and we bought a truck camper. So as far as what came out of our savings, 2021 was a better year for us financially. But
how about, what do you think, our month-to-month expenses?
Definitely went down in 2021
decreased.
As compared to 2020. Like the first 6 months of owning Cupcake, there was a learning curve for us as well. It cost us more than, you always want to buy new things to go inside your new camper and all that. So it did cost us a little bit more to outfit Cupcake and our truck. And this year, I think maybe one thing that we've done different is we've flown home more often than we've driven home. So that has saved some money. And the reason that saved money is because, like I said, we use that American Express card to gain Delta miles. Plus, Steve still has a ton of Delta miles left from corporate life. So we've been flying home when we go to see the kids a little bit more often. And then borrowing one of their cars.
What the hell?
Oldest daughter's husband's car, actually. So that has saved us some money, which we're super grateful for them for being so kind and generous to us.
We met someone yesterday, and they've been out on the road for 2 years. And I was surprised at the relatively small area of the country that they've been to visit. They had been Oregon, Washington.
Well, they're from Oregon.
Part of California and part of Arizona, and that's it. So we certainly, I shouldn't say we, I like to bitch about how much money we're spending, but we're going all over the country.
We've had some amazing experiences.
Yeah. And the experiences come at a cost. In this case, it's the cost of diesel, cost of truck maintenance.
I think all in, we're somewhere around 50 grand.
The previous year, we were at 60.
Yeah.
But there are ways that we can control our expenses and drive them down radically if we go off and live in the desert and don't go out to eat. We could stay there indefinitely, I think,
Yeah,
without
we
trying
could.
to like ask you to hit Patreon or to look for freelance jobs or whatever. There are ways to do this where you don't spend as much money as we do. And as we found from the Truck Camper Rally, we are on the high end of expenses for people that
For
were
full
answering the
times.
question honestly.
Yeah, for full
Yeah.
timers. We did meet some other not full timers, part timers, and they told us that they basically budget for $150 a day when they're out in their truck camper and driving. And I think that's very, very accurate. Like today, we stopped for gas twice, and one time was like $120, and one time was like $44. It was just a top off before we got out in the boonies with no services for quite a lot of miles.
Thanks for watching our video this week. We're digging into our finances. Hopefully it was helpful to you. If you have any comments, feel free to leave a comment below.
Yeah, but be nice.
Yeah, please. Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye. Let's see. Still shorter.
Is it worth it? Let's try 2 more.
We'll actually need 3 to be tall enough. Yeah, that's better.
What's the new use to leveling blocks?
I'm trying to make myself as tall as Steve.
We're leveling Noelle up.
The picnic table that we're sitting at is at a big slope. So.
Okay.